Sweat Equity Podcast and streaming show, the number one business comedy business podcast in the world. Thank you, Ric Flair. Pragmatic entrepreneurial advice with real, raw dog talk. What's the other award?
What?
I meant to look up the other award. Bleep it out.
2020 something's comedy podcast of the year from Southern State Business Awards.
Ooh, that's so hot. Listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your mom's Sony Walkman from 1991. It's yellow. It's water resistant. You know what? Sponsored by Squarespace. I don't want to read. I don't want to read all the copy. Just if you really want to hook up the show, be our BFFs, subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, write a short review, and then share this show. Share the shit out of it. We had Fred Cary on.
Really good.
We want him to be our dad.
I asked him to be my dad.
An extra dad. Yeah.
A new dad. Yeah.
No offense to Larry Smith, but I wanted an additional dad.
Right. We want 2 dads.
Yeah. My 2 dads.
And also the same dad.
And you know,
brothers.
You know what dads like to say to each other when they're paired up like that? Howdy toddy!
It's called sweat equity.
Listening to the Sweat Equity Podcast.
You know, we just do it live on tape. We don't really edit that much, but really, it's a conversation. We try to make it very conversational, and honestly, we wanted to have real talk. You know, like we do in offices or meetings when there's no cameras or anything.
Yeah, I harp on like these serial killer podcasts that are highly edited. To me, I think they should be called something else other than podcast. Because to me, a podcast is unedited conversation, letting it flow for hours if necessary, and just getting to the truth. Yeah,
well, yeah. I think what we like is having that real talk, kind of the anti-LinkedIn news feed of just saccharine sweet kind of posts. And we're going to keep all of this in.
A lot of my life, so I'm not afraid to tell people about that. So
all right, tell us about that. You've been to hell and back, like the Dark Knight Rises. You got out of the hole. Can you tell us about some of those experiences?
Right now, or
yeah, we're going, man. This is how we roll.
Oh, we're already recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably a new record for somebody not knowing.
I was gonna reiterate it, but yeah, we're gonna do this live on tape. We can cut out some of that early stuff if you want.
Yeah, if you don't want the M word in there.
We add it later to spice this up. No, what's it called? Yeah, what advice would you give your 13-year-old self? You want it?
Yeah, well, let's start it with that. My 13-year-old self. Actually, I was really kind of pure and naive and under the control of a fairly forceful, abusive father, and had to switch from being a football player to becoming a musician because that was the path I wanted to take. I literally had to hide my guitar in my closet for a year before he knew about it. My mom bought it for me, but I had to swear not to tell him. And he came by a year later, heard me playing in my room, opened the door like he was going to scream at me, and then said, "Wow, you just got a guitar? You play really well for somebody who just playing the guitar for the first time." So I think my advice to my 13-year-old me would be to do what you believe always, and don't allow other people to fashion who you're going to become, because only you can create your future, not others that are going to disappear from your life at any given point.
Is this the era when rock and roll was rebellious?
Right.
That's all I'm thinking about.
Homer and Lisa with the saxophone.
Yeah.
I went from I'm 73. I just turned 73, and
Mazel tov.
Yeah. Thank you. Still working my ass off. I work about 12 hours a day.
Holy.
I start the day doing 90 minutes of training with a trainer 5 days a week, so I can beat up most of my 20-year-old employees course, they're all girls. No, not true. Of either sex, as far as working out. So I don't know. I just think that life is best done when you're living it every single day, and you're not knowing whether you have a next day or not.
I did go on your Instagram. I looked at one of I think it was a pinned post of yours on there. I'm sure you're the one pushing all that stuff out there. It seems very professional. So it's like, I don't know if he's designing these social media posts and putting them out.
I don't know. Maybe you ask first.
Well, he is the writer of all the content. But as far as like, does this handwriting font look good on this?
It's a lot of work.
The one I saw that caught my eye was about routines. Can you give us your routine other than working out? Because I think Eric does too. Yeah. Like routine is it's the discipline's ultimate freedom kind of mantra, and getting in those routines to kind of let your brain breathe, it makes a lot of things easier in your life, not harder. Can you give us your routine in the morning?
Yeah, and by the way, yes, I do all my own content, and I don't have any bullet points or anything. I'll just turn on the camera and just start speaking, and I get it to about 57 seconds every time. And I don't know what
you are savvy. Look,
the post, yeah.
I mean, look, I know people that work in marketing agencies and wouldn't think that way,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, don't forget, I'm 73, so I've had a lot of practice. So anyway, the essence of what I try to do is to work on the most important thing before you work on work. And the most important thing is you. So I start every day with about 90 minutes to 2 hours, which means I have to get up around 5 in the morning. I have a trainer that shows up here. Otherwise, I'd stay in bed. And she pounds on my door. I have a gym on my property, and we go do different things every day for 90 minutes. After I do that, I'll do some reflection in the form of gratitude. And it could be anything. I'm happy that I'm breathing. I'm happy that I have friends. I'm happy that my ex-wife left me. Whatever,
we should start
whatever
a club.
it is.
I'm happy that I make jokes with the rule of threes. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And then the kind of positive affirmations, because life gets tough. No matter how successful you get in life, financially or in any other way, there are things that are happening every day that put curves in your life that you're not expecting. So just some positive affirmations to know that you can kind of get through it. And then I'll meditate. Typically, I'll meditate for 5-10 minutes. You can do it for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter. And then I'll read. I'll read a paragraph. I'll read a chapter. I'll read a sentence. It doesn't matter what I read. I'll read something. Then I start my day. And so by focusing on me first and making that a routine, by the time I start my work, I'm kind of relaxed, I'm focused, I have my energy, and I'm ready to take that day.
You're ready to give of yourself. So now that you've taken care of yourself, you can give to others.
Yeah, and
exactly.
And I realized that too late. I would do everything for everybody else and max myself out and just stress the shit out of myself, and then had to really reconfigure that. So this is a good reminder to
nobody's swooping in to be like, hey, did you take care of yourself today?
Yeah,
and you
and over time too.
Some mothers out there are a little overbearing, but
I would deliberately if you write the to-do list in the morning, I would deliberately put like 1, 2, 3 gratitude things, but then also some things over as they come up, I don't need to do or I do need to, when people are asking for help, hey, we have this charity event. Do you want to help us with some of that? And I just have down boundaries to say no. Mm-hmm. Before I'd be like, yeah, I can help you out, and then max my bandwidth out.
I like, Fred, how you seem to be not hard on yourself when it comes to your routine. I feel like a lot of people have this thing where they're like, if I don't do 30 minutes on the treadmill, why bother?
Right.
Or if I don't read a whole chapter of the book, what's the point? And it seems like you're cool. It's just get it on the board. Just get your day going. Don't dwell on it too much.
At minimum, all your tasks and your routine, you just have to start them, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think one thing important is when we have that type of attitude of like, I have to do it exactly this, then what happens is if we fail one day, we end up failing 2 days, a week, a month. I don't know how many people have tried to do something, stop smoking cigarettes, eating better, exercise more, and you figure out what that routine is, and then you skip a day, then you're gone because you feel like you failed. I have this kind of one free skip attitude that, if you mess up a day or you mess up a couple of days, then just get right back into it and don't focus on the fact that you didn't. Your body's telling you that you needed a break for one reason or another, and you took your break. Now get back to it. Yeah,
you the general kind of theme I got going through some of your content is you are very much like golf, like the entrepreneurship games between your ears, and it's more psychological. I think the advice I saw, I didn't see a whole a bunch of hours worth of it, but skimming through a lot of things. It seems like that's where your mastery is right now. Like that's where your wisdom lies. Is that fair to say? I mean, you were Harvard business, you were Harvard Law School, you're a badass attorney, you're a CEO, you've helped grow numerous amounts of companies. So I don't want to downplay that into one kind of swooping generalization, but I feel like what you're doing kind of with that wisdom is giving it out there.
Yeah, one thing that I've figured out with the pain of success then failure and success then failure is that if you're focusing on the financial aspects alone, then you're never going to be happy, right? Because if it's money, no matter how much money you have, you're going to want more, you're going to spend more. We always seem to have too much month for our money, no matter how far along we get. And instead, if you focus on happiness and trying to do the right thing and aligning your passion and your purpose with what you're doing in your life, then you can be happy even on days when you can't pay the rent, or on days when your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife was being an asshole. As long as you can focus on kind of a greater thing other than objects, then you're going to be a lot happier in your life. And my argument is that if you are trying to be an entrepreneur and trying to have a successful business, you're never going to have a great business unless you can become a great leader, and you're never going to become a great leader unless you can have a great personal life where you're treating your wife, your husband, your kids, your dog, the neighbors, the community in a respectful, honest, and committed way. And it all starts there, and that's why I talk a lot on social media about becoming a better you first, and then everything else falls into place.
Yeah, I mean, I really got egg on my face because your real personal brand mantra, I do know, and it got me excited about this interview. Your slogan's "Fuck average, be legendary." Can you tell us about that? Because it reminded me of Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up, where his whole mantra was be oh my God. I'll have to look it up.
My
God, my brain just shut off.
You brought it up.
Yeah, we're going to have to edit that part.
Yeah,
no, we keep that in because it's people like to hear that I go on my brain goes on the fritz. Be undeniable.
I just like to hear that you stopped talking.
Be undeniable. I didn't even have to finish the Google search.
Be undeniable.
Yeah, his whole thing was like, he will keep doing what he wants to do if he's undeniable. And so his attitude was that way with the actual like keeping like a box score, like he's one of those dorks at a baseball game about every gig he did and like notes on it, and was very thorough, and also was very thorough about his act and always trying to improve it. And like, he was like, if you're be so good, they can't deny you.
Yeah. And that's kind of, by the way, I have a copyright or trademark on that on Fuck Average Be Legendary.
Awesome.
I can't believe I got it, but I got it.
Nice.
And the whole point is that we want to have extraordinary lives. We all do. Everybody wants to have an extraordinary life. But what extraordinary thing did you do today? What extra effort did you make today? And you can't have an extraordinary life unless you start doing extraordinary things, unless you start believing that you can do anything, unless you can take a failure and treat that as an opportunity. And that's why I say fuck average, be legendary. That means go above and beyond what you believe you can do. And a lot of the times you're going to get there.
It's kind of like how we deal with our show. We could be LinkedIn darlings. We could keep it real, like, I'm not going to say any cuss words, but we can't do that.
What we used to call PC in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now it's woke. Before that, I don't know what it was, kind of in the 70s era.
Yuppies. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, like, we can play the game. We'd rather be authentic. It sounds like you have an authentic way of going about it. I think of that as like, try to give 10, 20% more of yourself of what your goals were. Do you try to do something amazing every day? Is that something I want to know about your self-analysis. When do you go, after the morning, do you do any self-analysis at the end of the day, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty tough on myself, and I always think I can do more than I did in a day, and so therefore I try harder the next day. That's just, I don't recommend it highly for people because
I've heard of continuous improvement in the business world, but this is not supply chain or manufacturing. This is like you can go mad doing that. I'm sure.
You're 73.
Yeah.
Tomorrow try and do worse. See what happens.
Yeah, that could be a good.
That could be your your rest day, just like your exercise rest day. Have a
mulligan.
Just take a day off.
Or just do it as like just slowly just go into lethargy and just apathy and just
never do it again
and get a documentary crew
Fred's
around
never
you.
been the same since he did that podcast.
Hey, I gave
Took
these
one day off, and now he's just.
I just gave these two podcast guys that did their show and just gave them a bunch of money. I don't know why.
Yeah.
By the way, you're allowed to do that.
That could
you can Venmo.
Thank you. I didn't realize that, but I'll keep a note here on that. Just a reminder.
But as I know, it won't buy me happiness. So, as someone wise just told us,
like you weren't even listening.
Yeah, I know. But the reality is, I think my best coping mechanism has become kind of, so what? Like if I have, because sometimes I have 400 startups under me with IdeaPros, and it's insanity, and that's why when we first started, I was telling you, I don't know if I'd do this again. It's kind of stupid when you look at it, because if you have one startup, you got fires all the time. You have 400 startups that look at you as the big daddy. It's just relentless. It's just like this tidal wave that keeps coming day after day. And so I finally got my point across to myself that it's at some level you can't care. You can do as much as you can, and when you haven't done everything you think you can do, just be okay with that. Just know that you've tried your hardest, that you've done the best you can do, and whatever the consequences are, bring them on, because you're doing all you can possibly do.
Yeah, I think I only kick the shit out of myself nowadays. I don't go too hard in the paint anymore, but only when I knew I could have done it better, or I was just kind of limping in, or just I didn't give it the 100% effort that I know I should have. And then got bad results, and you're like I did a set last night, and I was like, I'm going to sit down and write some jokes, and I was like, just other shit I let get in the way.
Where'd I put those jokes?
I wanted to do a 4-minute rant about pickleball, and how it's not a sport. It's barely a game to me. But that aside,
I don't even know what that is.
Pickleball.
I kind of know
that paddle tennis for fat dads. See, it's got legs. Just work. Hold on. Let me get some material out.
Oh, now you done it, Fred.
You ever watch Bluey? No. So, IdeaPros, how does that, it does sound overwhelming, because one startup, just being involved with one startup is a lot already. You were like, it's kind of like, when guys pitch like Mormons can have extra wives, and you're like, and when you're younger, you're like, that's awesome. And then you really think about it later in life, and you're like,
why would you want
that? Sounds like a fucking that sounds like a punishment,
right? That's a great metaphor for what Fred's doing to himself.
Well, yeah, because you have one lady, and you're like, okay, nice, but I'd like to have a lot more.
Right.
And then you're juggling a lot of
There's other stuff that comes with it,
and it's a lot of emotion, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It's not like somebody buying a toaster oven because they need one. When somebody comes to me, they're coming to me because they want to change their life. And the reality is, even the best venture capital firms in the world that work with only the best graduates out of the best schools in the country, they have about a 10-15% success rate. And I'm dealing with anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur that has the passion, has capital, and willing to give me a piece of the company. We're going to start together. I'm going balls to the wall for them. And even so, nothing happens when it's supposed to. Everything takes longer. The final results are never as good as you think they should be. I mean, you should go and look at the first Instagram. It's pathetic. You couldn't even like anything on it, and you have to be okay with going live when you're embarrassed. When you have something you're embarrassed about and you go live anyway, your first version, you should be embarrassed about it, because if you're not, you waited too long. You built version 3, version 5, version 10 of what you're doing, and trying to convince entrepreneurs that sucking is okay as long as you get out there with the core fundamental thing that you want to accomplish and the value proposition you want to give, then you get better over time. That's the hard part.
Yeah, you want to be able to have that picture of like, hey, remember back in the day when it was so shitty and we had that truck that didn't work, and like, look at this picture, look how stupid we were, and now we're successful. Makes it way better.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so if someone comes to you, what is that minimum capital they might need to have? I'm trying to think if someone out there's listening, or I talk to a lot of startups all the time. I would love to funnel them your way instead of having to talk on the phone to help them out. What are those minimums for anybody listening?
Yeah, and we used to just have a full-on program. Basically, you came to us with an idea, and we partnered with you, and we did everything from your raw idea to a nationwide launch of your first product for your first company. And that was a minimum of about $100,000 to $250,000 and 30% equity in the company we were going to form together. But it's $500,000 to $1 million worth of stuff that people are paying that for. But now, over 2 years, we had over 100,000 applications, and we took 400 partners. So there was a whole bunch of people that said, hey, I'm an entrepreneur and I need help. And I had nothing to give them because they didn't have that kind of capital. So now we have tons of free content. We have low price content. I have a master class that's a couple $100, teaches all about entrepreneurship. We have the thing that's missing most for a startup, first-time entrepreneur especially, is the number one reason that new companies fail is they've created something that nobody wants, that there's no demand for. It's insane, but that's the number one thing. And so we have a package, I don't know, I think it's around $1,000 or so. It completely takes your idea, vets it, does about a 40-page report, lets you know where you should be as opposed to where you think you should be, and gives you real legs to go out and launch a business. So we have solutions every step of the way, including tons of free stuff.
Bookmark that in my head, that $1,000, because
right, just forward it. You gotta send them that way.
I've written business plans. I still will write business plans. If the price is right, it's a lot of work, and
ain't nobody gonna buy this.
And it's like the worst part is the vetting process and the research. And if it's like, well,
I got an app idea. Oh yeah, did you check the app store?
Right.
No.
Did you do the basic research of any
Did you Google
11-year-old?
No. Oh, here's one that's actually better. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm a dick now. And when people go, I have an app idea, I go, stop. I go, number one, just stop right there. I go, number one, here's the deal. It's a decision tree. Does this thing exist yet? And if it exists, why are you going to do it better? How are you going to do it better? What's the angle?
Differently.
If it doesn't exist, it's a fork of a question. But if it doesn't exist, why doesn't it exist?
Right.
And that's actually harder to find out.
Right.
Right. And I try to get people away from even thinking like that at all. I don't want people saying they have an app idea. I want people to say they have a business solution, and there's this big need that I think I can fill with a solution. And by the way, I'm going to deliver it through an app. Everybody just focuses on the app part.
Right.
Before it was a website. Before a website, it was a carrier pigeon. It's just, it's the delivery mechanism that everybody gets hung up on. They want to, I have an idea, let me find an app developer. And they haven't thought through it. I spoke to a woman earlier today. She's spent over $100,000 with another company so far, an app company. Doesn't even have a prototype yet,
Yikes.
Is not certain about what it is she's creating. So don't build an app, build a business.
That's why it's important to do a business plan, because you have to write a mission statement, and the mission statement isn't a hard line like goal. It's very open ended, and that should be the emotion that's carried through it, right?
Fred called it a business solution.
Right.
You're solving a problem.
Right. Ideas are easy. They're cheap.
Everybody. I haven't ever met anybody that didn't have an idea.
Look, every bro in college thinks of two business ideas they're going to do. One's own a bar.
Right.
Because they're like, we drink. We like hanging out at a bar. We could open a bar. And then they don't do it. But the second one also is like a T-shirt company.
Right.
Like airbrushed funny T-shirts, man. I could write some funny stuff. Yeah. You guys laugh at that, and it's like, okay. But I get a lot of people pitching app ideas. Rarely anything that's offline kind of business idea, because it seems like a cheat code. That's why you get pitched those, right? You must get pitched those all the time.
Well, yeah. And by the way, if you have an idea that you want to deliver in an app, it's a 0 or a 1. If you're building a physical product, you can go out and make $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. You're having some level of success. With an app, you're either going nowhere or you're going to the moon. And the fact of the matter is there's 10,000 new apps in the App Store every day.
Oh my,
10,000.
Is that right?
Every day.
That's
look it up.
I believe
every
you,
day.
But it's shocking.
It seems overwhelming, like when you read how much YouTube videos uploaded per minute or something. It's like a billion minutes for every minute.
All great
of real time.
Dude. Just really high quality stuff.
Well, this show
across the board.
Yeah, Fred's content for sure. But yeah, that's interesting. What would be the process someone comes through? I'm guessing there's some guidance with the CEO or president of this startup, like mentoring. It seems like very regimented, like mentoring meets consulting of sorts.
It is, plus production, right? So
you do execution too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the very first thing I'll ask people is, what's the size of your market? Who's your competitors? Why are you better? And 95% of the time, they don't know. Well, I don't think I have any competitors. Well, if you have no competitors, you have something that nobody wants. Because if people, right, if enough people have a need, there's going to be some solution. It might not be anywhere near as good as what you have, but it's like the first person that invented the car, right? They could argue they have no competitors.
It's
the competitor
horses.
Was because the problem is transportation. It's a real problem. You have a better solution. And the same thing with if you're going to build something now. What's the real problem, and why do you have a better solution? And people don't know that. What's the market size? What's the market growth? What's the competitive landscape look like? What are their weak spots? How are you going to exploit their weak spots? Who's your target ideal customer? How are you going to steal them away from the competitors? How are you going to make them the passionate advocates of your brand? How are you going to go to market? How are you going to distinguish yourself in your naming, your branding, your positioning? How are you going to be the Apple to the IBM and Microsofts of the world? And people don't think through any of that.
Did this just turn into a sex line? Because this is getting me horny. No, I love all this stuff. TAM, that's, a lot of that market research, that TAM, SAM, SOM, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't even do the hour. Like, my thing is like, if it's your business, you should have like military-like callback to any question about the business or anything in the market of that industry or sector or whatever. And how many people have a business plan when they come to you? Do they have to submit it? That's so crazy.
None of them do. Yeah. Most people come to us with an idea, and you know, it really is amazing that I'll tell you what the problem is. The problem really is social media, and I'm on social media all the time, and this is social media in a sense. But the problem is that social media has made entrepreneurship look really easy, and it's really, really fucking hard. And you'll have some 24-year-old kid sitting in front of a $10 million mansion with his Lamborghini saying, "In just 1 week, I can give you this life." And it's bullshit, and we buy into it, and so we show up completely unprepared. I like to liken it to sports. I'm going to hire you to be the coach of my team. Well, what sport are we playing? I can't tell you that right now. What are the rules? I don't know. How many players am I going to get? I don't know. What's the objective? I don't know. But that's how we show up for our business. You know, we would never do that in sports. You got to know everything about the sport, the players, the competencies of the other side, the rules of the game, how you're going to win, how you're going to get all the fans rooting for you. You do that in sports, you got to do the same thing in business.
What would you do if somebody did bring you a business plan?
Eric starts typing.
Probably wouldn't read it.
See, that's what I wanted to know. Do you even want these things?
I've actually created a one-page business plan that we have available on our site somewhere on our site. I don't even know where the hell it is. But basically, in one page, it has every different element of what you'll find in a 40 or 50-page business plan, just laid out very, very succinctly. The problem nowadays with most business plans is the only people that want them is if you're going to get an
Funding.
SBA loan.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
Well,
and even like with venture capital, they don't want a business plan anymore. Private equity, they don't want a business plan anymore.
Really?
So
I guess they're more
They're
acquisition.
getting more chill.
You
know.
Well,
they want to see
want to
the
make sure
balanced
you know your
scorecard.
shit.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about that with the health of the company before we have to skedaddle? We have to have you back on because I feel like we barely tap,
Oh yeah.
the surface here. But can you tell us about how a balanced scorecard, or I'm guessing another way to say it is the health of your business? How's anybody listening that has a business kind of do that as the most objective way?
Well, you know, I used to actually teach balanced scorecard and use it in some of my organizations. And what's really good about it is you find measurable elements of your company and specific tasks that you do against those measurements to make sure you're living up to them. So, for example, if you have a sales organization, you may tell all your sales folks that they need to do 50 outbound calls every single day. And you have certain expectations of them of what's going to happen, but you haven't calculated it in the right way. If you find out that looking at data will allow you to understand the fact that if somebody does 27 phone calls for 3 minutes or less every day, I'm likely to generate X amount of revenue from that because my data shows me that. And so using that type of technology that we have available right now to go deep down under the hood and figure out from a fundamental level, the things that I do give me these results. So you don't just tell somebody, you need to bring me at least $100,000 a month or you're out of here. You tell them the underlying behaviors that have to take place. And so the balanced scorecard method uses that same type of approach in different objectives. But find out the behavioral elements of those objectives that are going to give you the results that you need. And if you don't know how to do that as a company, you're not going to make it.
Can you adopt us?
I was gonna say, can you be my dad?
We're 38, 30.
kidding, Dad.
We're in our late 30s, but we're still useful.
You're adoptable.
We can take out the trash. Yeah. I mean, we both have parents, a mom and dad, both all alive, but we an extra dad, a bonus dad, as they like to call it.
Yeah.
We have to have you back on. Thank you so much for coming on this time, because your dollar per hour is a lot higher than ours. But yeah, we'll have to have you back on whenever we can.
Okay, I'd love to. You guys are awesome, and this has been a lot of fun.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, Fred.
See ya.